Ma nishtaنا ha-Pesach hazeh mikol ha-Pesachs. On Pesach night, we're used to asking how this night is different from all other nights. But this year, there are many things about Pesach that are different than many other years. And I want to take a few minutes today to discuss some halachas that are relevant to before Pesach and on Pesach that will be different this year because of the conditions that we find ourselves in coronavirus, not able to go out and be in shul or do different things as we prepare for Pesach. So firstly, I want to start with a story, like we always do. One time at the Frierdiker Rebbe's Seudah of Pesach, there was a Yid who wasn't familiar with the strict rules that Chabad has about gebruks, about not getting the matzah wet. And he was sitting there with his matzah and he dipped it into the borscht, which is a red beet juice. And right away when the Hasidim saw it, there was a whole commotion. How could you do that? Da, 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 da. And the Frierdiker Rebbe was sitting at the head of the table, and he asked, "What's going on?" And when they told him about that this Yid had dipped the matzah in the borscht, the Frierdiker Rebbe said, "Better there should be a red matzah than a red Yid." That means, let him do it. Better he shouldn't have to be embarrassed and his face turn red. And that's a big thing as we approach this Pesach with many, many differences that we should be understanding and realize that whatever they are, that's the way Hashem wants it. Instead of getting angry at it and trying to make our ways around the things that we have to make different this year, we just do it in the right way. So we'll start with pre-Pesach. Firstly, mois chitim, giving tzedakah before Pesach. Every person is supposed to help people that are in need to have their Yom Tov needs. Of course, this year there are many more people in need. And so each of us should be finding those few extra dollars that we saved up from Chanukah Geld and giving those to tzedakah so that those less fortunate should be able to have things that they need for Pesach. Another thing that might not be so applicable to us boys, but your parents will be involved in this, is that usually mechiras chametz, the selling of the chametz, happens with physical interaction. You meet a rav, or you fill out a paper that can be later brought to the rav. But this year, because of Corona, not a lot of people are interacting, and so we have to rely on the mechiras chametz through the internet, which is completely okay. Most rabbanim, almost all the rabbanim, have made this very, very clear, and you just sign the form online and you send it in, your chametz gets sold. Another thing for before Pesach is a haircut. We're supposed to get a haircut before Yom Tov. Some people, because the barbers are closed, will not be able to get that, and that's okay. The rabbanim have ruled that's fine, and we'll wait till Lag BaOmer. And of course, it's best to get it before, but if not, you do what you have to do. Also, something not relevant to Pesach, but this time of the month, is Kiddush Levana. Kiddush Levana is supposed to be recited with a big crowd. But if you can't, 3 people is best, so you could say Shalom Aleichem to them. If not, you don't even have 3 people to say it with, you say it alone, and that's okay. Those of us in our class that are a bechor, a firstborn, many of us will not be able to be in shul and hear a siyum to break our fast. So what we should do is, or our fathers, should learn a short mesechta. The Rebbe said even Pirkei Avos is fine to make a siyum on. If not, if you can't make your own siyum, then you could call in by phone. I'm sure there will be siyumim that you could listen to and take part in. Now, let's move to closer to Pesach. Bedikas chametz and beer chametz. So in New York, this is more of a problem. In California, it's not so much. But there are some places where we won't be able to make public fires for burning chametz, especially people to gather around. So if you could do a fire in your backyard to burn your pieces, that's totally okay and best to do that. It says in Kabbalah that making the fire on Erev Pesach has a special power to burn away many klipos and evil forces. But if you cannot do a fire on Erev Pesach, then what you could do is take a small piece of bread, like a kazayas or an olive size, and just burn it in a chametzdike toaster or on a chametzdike barbecue till it turns to charcoal. That's already enough. If you can't even do that, no fires are allowed if you're in such a place, then what you do is you could flush chametz down the toilet, or you could just pour like bleach or another cleaning agent over it, so that way it becomes for sure unedible and it's considered as if you burnt it. During Pesach, Of course, most of us are already keeping this, but during Pesach, there is a concept in halacha where people should get together and spend Yom Tif meals and time on Yom Tif together. This year, of course, that's forbidden. You should not be going around to other people and places because of the coronavirus, and that's totally okay, as the Rabbanim have said. Another thing now is talking about the night of the Seder. Pesach is the only time of the year where we say Hallel at night. And although there are some opinions that this Hallel could only be said with a Minion, the halacha is that Hallel by Ma'ariv and by the Seder could be said even without a Minion. So we have no problem with that. We'll daven at home and we'll just say Hallel alone. By day, on the first day of Pesach, the minhag is that in Musaf we begin to say Merid Hatol. But usually we do that with a whole davening, a whole Musaf, Tfilas Tal. This year we won't be with a Minion. That's not going to be possible. So what we should do, the Rabbanim have said, is that every family, somebody should make an announcement right before Musaf. Somebody should say, we're going to start saying now Merid Hatol. And then when you daven Musaf quietly on your own, you just begin to say Merid Hatol. Another thing that we do when there's no Minion is by Kriyas HaTorah. We can't read the Torah itself, so we're supposed to, every one of us should read from a Siddur or a Chumash, the Kriyas HaTorah for every single day of Pesach, Yom Tif and Chol HaMoed, etc., etc. Also, because there's no Minion, it's going to be harder to remember the special mitzvah that we begin to do on the second night of Pesach, which is Sfiras HaOmer, counting the Omer every day until Shavuos. Make sure you remember to do that at home before the Seder starts as part of Ma'ariv on the second night, and we're going to start making the bracha and counting Sfiras HaOmer. One more thing, relevant to the end of Pesach, Achron Shal Pesach U'Mek Asudas Mashiach. Again, in Chassidus, we hear about from the Sichos that it should be done with a big crowd and lots of people. But of course, if we can't, and this year probably we will not be able to, unless Mashiach comes, Be'ezras Hashem, then the Sudas Mashiach should just be done at home with your family, and that is completely okay. And talking about Sudas Mashiach, we should be Zoiche that this year already before Pesach, we should have Mashiach Tzidkenu put an end to the coronavirus and an end to the Golus, and we'll just be able to celebrate Pesach all together when Mashiach comes in Herav Yameinu. Amen.